When I was 7, my mom sat me down. Her eyes were steady, her voice was firm. And she said to me, Kendra, it's time for you to learn how to do some things on your own. Now, as a 7-year-old, I had no clue what my mom was talking about. But I quickly learned. Without explanation, my mom began to teach me things that most kids don't learn until much later, like how to get in and out of the house with a door key, how to do laundry, and even how to cook simple meals. Canned ravioli was my specialty, y'all. I did my homework by myself most evenings, and I put myself to bed most nights. When I turned 8, I decided I wanted to be able to make some extra money. So I asked my neighbors, can I begin to walk their dogs? And they said yes. They didn't always have cash to pay me, so they would pay me in their win and scratch-off lottery tickets that I would walk to the store and cash in as an 8-year-old. Y'all, the 90s were a wild time. But looking back, what I learned was survival lessons. What most people learned much later in life, I had learned at a much younger age. And by the time people were learning these same skills, I had already stepped into adulthood. I had already begun to provide mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially for my family while pursuing my master's and then doctoral degree as a first-generation high school and college graduate. Thank you. To my family, I was a star. Somebody who could overcome anything. But inside, I was exhausted. I hardly slept. Anxiety and depression weighed me down. And the worst part of it all is that I grew to believe that that is what my life was supposed to be like. At one point, I went to my mom and told her, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And she looked at me with those same stern eyes and said to me, Kendra, we don't get a choice. Never let anyone see you cry. What I didn't know my mom was teaching me is what generations of women had already learned: how to be a strong Black woman. Best explained by social learning theory, we learn through modeling, imitating, and observing. And what I learned about being a Black woman was directly modeled by my mother. So I did exactly what I knew to do. I hid my pain, often behind a smile. I showed up for everyone else, even if it was at my own demise, and I never showed any weakness. I was the epitome of what it meant to show up as a strong Black woman. Until one day when everything changed. I was supporting someone in their emergency room. I had to pick up my kids from school in a couple of hours. And I was listening to an online lecture. And the professor began to speak about something that I had never heard of before: the strong Black woman schema. Under this schema is the societal expectation that Black women must show up as selfless caregivers, show unparalleled strength, and be emotionally stoic, or as you see up there, really emotionally suppressant. And then it hit me. She was describing my life. Before this moment, I was blind to the larger picture. My life revolved around raising my 3 boys. And even after God called one of them home after a courageous battle with cancer, I still showed up every day and did what I knew to do by what I learned as being a strong Black woman. But then came along my amazing, now 4-year-old daughter, Bella, who is my light, and ultimately, she became my why. Because when I looked at Bella, I knew that I did not want Bella to be subjected to the same societal expectations that I had been stifled by for so long. I knew I had to carve a new path, but not just for Bella, but for all the Black women and the Black girls who live lives that look just like mine. Because what we know is that humanity has truly stifled our voices as Black women and stolen so much from us before we even have gotten a chance to live. But it wasn't just about me. So I had a new mission. And my mission became a mission to free generations of women from these same toxic expectations, a mission for liberation so that we can be free of all this stress and anxiety, and a mission for change so that no one else has to have the same experiences that we have. Because as far back as slavery, Black women have been expected to show up for everyone but ourselves. And this expectation didn't end with slavery. It only evolved. When I began working in the school systems, I began to see these same traits in the Black girls that I served. And I noticed two trends. One, we had the overachievers. These young girls are hardworking. They are incredible, but they're often burdened by perfectionism. And second, they're the rebels. Those are my people. These girls do everything that they can do to buck societal expectations, but it often comes at the cost of being labeled as angry and defiant. And no matter where these girls fell in this paradigm, it became very clear. We are failing our Black girls. So what do? How do we help our girls break free from this transgenerational toxic cycle that has taken our lives for so long? Perhaps it is most crucial that we create safe spaces. Safe spaces are places where our Black girls can go to be their most vulnerable selves. In this safe space, our Black girls are taught that it is okay to feel. It is okay to cry. And it is okay to be human, while simultaneously learning ways to communicate what they're feeling and what they're experiencing and support one another through it. Black women thrive in communities, and so do our Black girls. By creating community, we have spaces where we can go with one another in support and talk about how we experience day-to-day microaggressions, such as "don't touch my hair," and be able to set those boundaries with one another and reinforce that we are not property, but we are people, just like everyone else. And last, but definitely not least, we have to give our Black girls voices. Our Black girls deserve to be heard. Ursula Burns said it best when she said, "I didn't learn to be quiet when I had an opinion. The reason why they knew who I am was because I told them." Right now, many of our Black girls are screaming, begging to be heard. In others, they're silent, never given a chance to speak. As educators, as community leaders, or just as people who care, it is our jobs to create safe spaces, to build community, and to give our Black girls voices. It is our jobs to teach them that this is not what the world has to be, because none of our Black girls should have to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders without help and without hope. Because one day, when that Black girl has the opportunity to stand in front of you and look out, she'll be able to proudly say, "Someone cared enough to hear me, to see me, and most of all, to free me." Thank you.